Hello everyone, welcome to Science at St Mark's. We're really looking forward to seeing you all next year as you start Year 7, and in this little video we're going to look a bit at what science is, look at how we humans see the world and how different animals see the world, and also at the end we're going to introduce some of the teachers that you will be seeing next year. This picture that you see, some of you will be seeing a duck, some of you will be seeing a rabbit, and some of you will be able to see both, and more on that a bit later. So what is science? Is it someone in a lab coat? Is it someone with chemicals and experiments? Well, science, it is explaining what we see in the world. It's as simple as that. So you could be a scientist like this, in a lab, surrounded by lots of equipment, or you could be a scientist in nature, like this. And that person is a marine biologist and has his clipboard and is investigating what's happening under the sea. So what we're going to look at this next little bit is how animals see the world. The first animal we're going to look at is bees. Bees see the world differently from humans. This chart has all the colors starting from red, orange, yellow, green and blue. There are two things on this chart which we as humans cannot see. We cannot see infrared, which is on the left side, and we can't see ultraviolet, which is on the right side. If you look at the arrows for the bees and the humans, we humans cannot see ultraviolet, but bees can. Now, ultraviolet is the same wavelength of light that causes sunburns and skin cancers. It's also disinfectant as well, and bees can actually see ultraviolet light. So the flower on the left is what we as human beings would see, and the flower on the right is what bees would see. They have a different experience because they see different colors. Next slide will show a similar picture again. Humans on the left, bees on the right. So what I want you to start seeing is that just because we see the world a certain way as humans, doesn't mean that every animal sees it the same way. Here is a snake. On the left, we would see a dark background, we'd see a mouse, they'd be hard to see. But for a snake, they can see infrared, and that mouse will appear really bright, and that's basically dinner. Flies have hundreds of eyes on the surface of their eyes, and they see differently again. We're going to look at 5 different animals, and there's a website there if you want to have a look again and do a bit more research on your own, but there are 5 different animals and we're going to look at their vision. The first animal we're going to look at is a dog. So whereas human eyes contain 3 types of color detecting cells called cones, dogs just have 2. Their cone cells are specialized for picking up yellow and blue to ultraviolet light. So what that means is that a dog will not see as many colors as we humans will do. So if I slide this across, you'll actually see that dogs can see the green of the grass, but they can't see the orange of the ball. So dogs cannot distinguish as many colors as humans can. Once again, what humans look like, we slide back, and that is a dog vision. Humans don't see colors very well, or even at all in low light. This is because our cone cells function best in relatively bright light. So here comes the gecko's vision. Geckos have excellent color vision at night, and it's a useful advantage for a nocturnal hunter, meaning they hunt at night. Their eyes have evolved to be up to 350 times more sensitive to color at night than ours. So looking at the picture, this is what we as humans would see. We see a little bit of color, but it mostly looks like grays. But as we slide across, you'll see that the world of a gecko is much more bright and vibrant because they are hunters at night. So where we humans have mostly shades of gray, at night geckos will be able to see these vibrant colors and be able to pick off that insect and make it its dinner. The next animal we're going to look at is the garden snail. Although the eyes of garden snails can't focus or see color, they would just about be able to make out this other snail moving past or a predator approaching. The snail's ability to discern different intensities of light help it navigate towards dark places. So looking at the photo or the picture, we will see this is what we as humans would see, and as we slide across, this is what a snail sees. Black and white and very blurry. So it'd be a struggle for humans if we saw the world this way, and snails see the world differently. The next animal we're going to look at is the giant clam. Adult giant clams are completely stationary, having attached themselves to a rock or coral. They observe the world through several hundred tiny pinhole eyes along the edges of their soft bodies. Pinhole eyes are the shape of a deep cup and have a narrow opening but no lens. They are just one of an enormous variety of eyes owned by mollusks. That's animals such as slugs, snails, oysters, and octopuses, which demonstrate different steps in eye evolution. Although giant clams are sensitive to 3 different colors of light, they are unable to combine the information. Instead, they see colorful but undefined images. Let's have a look and see what a clam will see. However, their eyes are able to detect nearby movement so that the clams can take action either by squirting a jet of water to startle a potential predator or by closing their shell. So what a giant clam sees looks like disco lights, and this is what we as humans would see. Clams see the world differently. The last animal we're going to look at is the jumping spider. They have excellent vision from the 8 pairs of eyes that they use to hunt. And when they spot potential prey, they pounce. Their biggest pairs of eyes face forward and give the spider high resolution vision. The other smaller eyes are used for peripheral vision and detecting motion. And this is what a jumping spider will see. Jumping spiders can see a broader spectrum of colors than we can. They even have pigments sensitive to ultraviolet light, so they are able to see more details in these flower petals than we can. This is what a jumping spider sees, and this is what we see. We see the world differently. What about humans? Do we all see things the same way? What I love about this picture that we saw at the beginning is that you could have a crowd of people look at it, and half of them will see a duck first, and the other half will see a rabbit first. A lot of people will see both, but usually they'll see one or the other the first time they see it. What's amazing is that even we humans don't see the same way. Half of a crowd will see a duck first, the other half will see a human first. Here is another picture where we have 2 people. There is an old lady and there's a young lady. This one's a bit more tricky because some people can't actually easily see both of the women there. If you need a pause so you can have a look, and if you're watching with someone, you can help them see the images that you see. And when you're ready, we can move on. This next one is the elephant in terms of how many legs. Our brains are constantly trying to make sense of this. Does it have 4 legs? Does it have 5 legs? And the longer you spend looking at it, the more confusing it is because our brains are trying to make sense of this picture. We're used to an elephant and what it looks like. And this is perhaps my favorite. Which is darker, this A square or the B square? Now, I'm going to show you whether you're right or wrong. Now, as we see, we're going to drag the A across into the B section. And what do you notice is that it is the same color. Now, a really quick explanation as to why they're the same color is your brain thinks that A is darker than B. In fact, looking at A and B, even now, they look different colors. And that's because your brain is interpreting the data that's going into your brains and telling you that A is darker than B. But in actual fact, we've just shown that they are the same color. Now the reason is because you've seen a checkerboard before and it goes black, white, black, white, black, white. And A is on a black square and B is on a white square. There's something else that your brain is used to seeing, and your brain is used to seeing a shadow. And in this case, the shadow over the B square makes B darker. But because you're used to seeing a shadow, your brain just realizes, of course, B is still lighter. If you need to go back and have a look, just to see that your eyes aren't playing tricks on you, by all means. All right, and we'll move on. Your brain is receiving streams of data every second, and it is constantly trying to make sense of it all. And science is about helping everyone make sense of the world around them. But as you can see, and as we've seen, we still need to be aware that we experience the world differently. And it's important to be aware of how we see the world when we study science. And when you start science, you're going to have all these different views of the world that we're going to show you in science, that there actually is a more scientific and correct way to think about it. The next example we're going to look at is food. This is a perfect example of how we can see people experiencing the world differently. We all eat multiple times a day, and we all have opinions on what is good food. So I'm going to share with you some of the foods that I like. Would you eat this? Now this is a Malaysian dessert. Okay, that's actually a sweet dish. Those green noodle-looking things are actually like a rice type kind of dessert on top of some shaved ice. It's really delicious, but when you look at it, it does look a bit strange. Would you eat this? Now this is dim sum. It's chicken feet, and it is so delicious and I love eating it. But some of you will be looking at it going, that is disgusting. And this is another thing that some of you might have heard of, Vegemite. It's from Australia, and some of you might think that is disgusting. Some of you might be thinking it's okay. Some of you might have seen it before. Some of you might be thinking it's like Marmite. But I like Vegemite. Now this food might be a bit more familiar to you. It's sea salt and vinegar crisps. Now I don't like sea salt and vinegar crisps. In fact, I avoid them. And so if I were to see a packet of these, I would not be thinking that is great food. What I would like you to see is that I experience the world differently from you, and that's okay. And when we are able to understand that others see the world differently to us, it will lead us to connect more deeply with the people around us. So just as animals see the world differently, we humans see the world differently. And part of science is really helping you understand the world.